Elizabeth Shaw is perhaps the most ambiguous and often misunderstood character by the audience. She's an archaeologist and a religious person, a servant of science, and simultaneously someone who has chosen the path of faith. These two realms are challenging to reconcile, making Elizabeth's motives and actions sometimes puzzling. On one hand, there is her fanatical zeal to meet her creators. On the other, a complete indifference to rationality or supporting her bold claims with evidence.
But how do you know?
I don't. But it's what I choose to believe.
Elizabeth, together with Dr. Holloway, leads the extraordinary, expensive, and complex expedition Prometheus, justifying it with some ancient drawing collected from across the globe. These drawings, according to the duo, depict an inventation and the map of the stars. This all seems utterly irrational not just to us, the viewers, but also to everyone attending their briefing.
Bullshit. Okay, so, do you have anything to back that up?
There's also a series of additional clips for Prometheus, one of which, titled Quiet Eye, features Elizabeth sending a video message to Mr. Wayland. In it, she tries to convince him to listen to her and promises to take him to their creators. This message is confident and remarkably persistent, but it lacks that seems most crucial, any evidence to substantiate her claims. We understand that these findings are far from enough to justify such a massive-scale expedition, and so does Mr. Wayland. He's far from foolish and sees that this woman's driving force is rooted solely in her internal convictions, not in external facts. Yet despite this, he risks everything and chooses to trust her. Surprisingly, he does not regret this choice. Elizabeth turns out to be right, while the scientists who mocked her were not. Wayland's perspective is easy to grasp. He's a man with infinite resources and absolute power. He has everything: money, people, technology, and political connections. But all of that means nothing when you are old and frail. As we learn toward the film's end, the entire expedition exists solely for him to uncover the secret of immortality. The scientists on board are merely a cover and subjects for David's experiments, nothing more. Wayland is near death and possesses an enormously inflated ego. He doesn't care about archaeological discoveries, space exploration, fame, or even extraterrestrial life. The man is willing to grasp at any straw that might give him even a faint chance to live a little longer. In such a situation, faith becomes paramount, and it is precisely that which Elizabeth Shaw brings to the table. Elizabeth, with a worldview entirely opposite to Wayland's, finds her ultimate source of motivation and knowledge in faith and her internal world.
What happened to that man?
He died.
Why did he die?
Sooner or later, everyone does.
Like Mummy.
This excerpt from Elizabeth's dream, a fragment of her unconscious into which the android David peeks, serves as a key to understanding her motivations and inner psychological trauma. Her father was a Christian missionary who aided remote African tribes, making him as an empathetic and caring individual. He passed away during one such trip due to an Ebola outbreak. Moreover, Elizabeth had already lost her mother before that. The death of her parents is a wound that remains unhealed. Psychologically, Shaw cannot accept their deaths, nor can she let them go. This drives her to follow in her father's footsteps and intertwine her life with faith.
Heaven? Paradise? Whatever it's called. Someplace beautiful.
How do you know it's beautiful?
The belief that her parents are in heaven partially soothes the pain, but it doesn't stop her from searching for evidence that paradise truly exists. As a child, Elizabeth was deeply curious and unwilling to take her father's word for it. The core of her personality is a potent combination of unwavering faith and curiosity, which drives her to ignore everything happening around her and listen solely to her inner convictions. Elizabeth Elizabeth's faith is symbolized by her cross necklace, which previously belonged to her father. To lose her faith would mean confronting the reality that her creators lack virtue and that her beloved parents are truly gone. Wayland's daughter, Meredith Vickers, inherits control of his empire upon his death. All that remains of Elizabeth's father is his faith, which she carries with her and refuses to abandon. Her conflict parallels that of David, programmed by his father and only able to gain freedom after Wayland's death.
What happens when Wayland is not around to program you anymore?
I suppose I'd be free.
You want that?
Elizabeth too is controlled by her father, though not physically but mentally. Unlike David, Elizabeth grew up surrounded by love and unconsciously longs to return to that happy past. She barely remembers her mother, but received ample care from her father. She still loves him and cannot let go. Elizabeth represents unconditional love in Prometheus. It is her father's love that ultimately propels her in her search for paradise. Wayland and his children, David and Meredith Vickers, are antitheses of Elizabeth Shaw and her father. Wayland is an unscrupulous, greedy, pragmatic, and cold, lacking any semblance of unconditional love. Instead, he is marked by narcissism and indifference toward others. This dynamic explains David's genuine interest in Shaw. Despite his brilliant mind and vast knowledge, the android cannot fully comprehend her. Her behavior deviates significantly from those around him, resisting rationalization. Here, Ridley Scott draws a clear line between human and robot.
I don't understand.
I guess that's because I'm a human being. And you're a robot.
Shaw to David is an enigma whose actions cannot be dictated by external pressures. He cannot calculate or understand her because he has never experienced love himself. David wasn't born naturally, lacked real parents, wasn't nurtured, or experienced maternal care. This lack leaves him unable to grasp the motivation behind a person willing to traverse the cosmos, driven by an undying love for someone long gone. The themes of Blade Runner, a landmark film in Scott's career, resonate strongly in Prometheus. Central is the idea that empathy defines humanity. Prometheus is a fusion of ideas from Alien and Blade Runner.
For me, Prometheus was always about making a Blade Runner Alien mashup, using the best themes from both movies and dropping them all into the same world.
In Blade Runner, the absence of empathetic connections turns behavior mechanical, rational, predictable, and easily controlled. Without empathy, a person becomes akin to a robot. Unconditional love or empathy isn't merely an innate emotion like fear or anger. It's a complex, learned ability developed through sustained social and parental interactions. Initially receiving love from others, individuals later learn to give it in return. Human capacity for unconditional love largely depends on being loved as children. An ideal example of unconditional love is maternal affection. In cinema, heightened empathy is often tied to an abundance of maternal care during upbringing. For instance, consider Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, released a year after Prometheus. Contrasts Krypton, a technologically advanced but resource-depleted world on a brink of destruction, with Earth enriched by love. Kryptonian blood grants Clark superhuman strength and speed, but his earthly parents' love forms the foundation of his boundless compassion. Krypton lacked natural childbirth, preventing such experience of love. Now, recall the iconic cesarean section scene in Prometheus, revealing a crucial aspect of Shaw's character. This tense moment evokes discomfort, compelling viewers to avent their eyes while bracing for resolution. Here, Shaw's internal strength and fearlessness in facing life creation emerge. Natural reproduction symbolizes the foundation for developing unconditional love. Growing up in a loving environment, Shaw naturally desires to share love with others. She genuinely loves her partner and longs for children, yet her inability to create life within herself leaves leaves her in tears. Such unfulfilled love often manifests in caring for pets or strangers. Elizabeth becomes the first and only person to show compassion toward David.
She put me back together. I'd never experienced such compassion. Certainly not from Mr. Wayland, or from any human.
You're very kind at heart, you know.
This despite David previously infecting and effectively killing her partner, a fact Shaw knew. It mirrors the irrational actions of Roy Batty saving Deckard after he killed his beloved replicant priest, or Luke Skywalker's compassion for his father. These characters have no objective reasons to display love or empathy toward their enemies, yet they do, opening the door for Christian motives that elevate compassion to another level. After recovering her cross necklace symbolizing her faith, Shaw helps David, letting go of the past and showing genuine care. Reflect on how Scott portrays their interaction. When Shaw carefully places the severed head in bag, David appears helpless, like a newborn. His smile is genuine, experiencing a fragment of maternal love for the first time. Together they leave the ship through openings suggestive of birth imagery. In the first Alien, astronauts entering such doors symbolized fertilization. In Prometheus, this moment signifies David's symbolic rebirth and the acquisition of a soul. Ridley Scott ties love and empathy to religious symbolism. Love is always a sacrifice, prioritizing others over oneself. Dr. Holloway sacrificed himself, spreading his arms like a cross. The same goes for the ship's captain and crew during their self-sacrificial collision with the engineer's ship, contrasting with Wicker's attempt to save herself. Earlier, Janek and Vickers were contrasted when the latter showed no remorse for killing a man, only complained about her hand injury. Vickers lacked empathy entirely.
You, robot.
Shaw's father sacrificed his life to help strangers in remote African jungles as a doctor. This profession often ties closely to heightened empathy as seen in Blade Runner. This establishes a direct link between religion and empathy. Examine any widely recognized theological concept of faith and you'll find its highest form associated with unconditional love for all living beings. Thus, the cross in Prometheus transcends being merely a Christian symbol. It embodies conscious sacrifice and extreme empathy. Everything just mentioned lifts the veil of secrecy over the mural in the center of Engineer's Cave, which we will discuss in detail next time.